The alarm blared through the command center of the International Space Defense Coalition headquarters. Commander Jack Mason looked up from his coffee, his brow furrowing as he rushed to the main console. "Report," he said firmly. "Sir, we've detected an unidentified object entering Earth's atmosphere," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "It's not following any known trajectory of space debris or satellites." Jack leaned over her shoulder, studying the blinking dot on the screen. "Have you alerted the science team?" "They're already on it, sir." In the observatory 10 floors below, Dr. Olivia Wright adjusted her glasses as she peered at the readings. Her colleague, Daniel Garcia, whistled softly beside her. "These energy signatures don't match anything in our database," Daniel said. "It's maintaining a controlled descent. This is no meteor." Olivia nodded, her heart racing. "Alert command that we're looking at what appears to be a controlled landing. Estimated touchdown in Wyoming, approximately 20 miles from Pine Creek." The object, glowing faintly blue against the morning sky, descended slowly until it touched down in a meadow surrounded by pine trees. Within minutes, Sheriff Alan Boyd arrived in his patrol car, having followed the strange light in the sky. He parked at a safe distance and grabbed his binoculars. "Dispatch, I'm going to need backup," he said into his radio, voice steady despite his racing heart. "And contact the feds. This isn't like anything I've ever seen." The object was smooth and oval-shaped, about the size of a small bus. It gleamed silver in the sunlight, with no visible windows or doors. Sheriff Boyd established a perimeter with his deputy and waited as military helicopters approached in the distance. Then, silently, a section of the craft slid open. Sheriff Boyd raised his hand, signaling his deputy to remain calm. 3 figures emerged, walking slowly and deliberately. They were humanoid but clearly not human, taller and thinner, with bluish-gray skin and large eyes that reflected the sunlight. Each carried what looked like scientific equipment rather than weapons. The tallest one held up a small device that emitted a soft hum. "We come in peace," the device translated in a slightly mechanical voice. "We are explorers from the Vartani civilization." By the time Commander Mason arrived with Dr. Wright and a security team, a base camp had been established at a safe distance from the alien craft. The 3 visitors waited patiently, occasionally talking among themselves in musical tones. "I'm Commander Jack Mason of the International Space Defense Coalition," Jack said, approaching with Olivia beside him. The tallest alien's device hummed again. "I am Xenar, lead explorer of this mission. These are my colleagues, Turan and Vela." "Why have you come to Earth?" Olivia asked, unable to contain her scientific curiosity. Xenar tilted his head. "We have been observing your planet from afar for some time. We are part of what you might call a galactic assembly, a coalition of spacefaring civilizations. We had not planned to make direct contact so soon, but our sensors detected something unexpected." "Unexpected how?" Jack asked, his posture remaining alert despite the alien's peaceful demeanor. "Something we have never encountered before," Xenar replied. "A unique energy signature emanating from your species. We believed we should investigate directly." "You mean you came all this way because of something about humans?" Olivia asked, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. Xenar nodded, the gesture clearly learned from observing humans. "Yes. What we have detected could change our understanding of sentient life in the galaxy." As military jets circled overhead and news helicopters hovered at the edge of the restricted airspace, Xenar looked up at the blue sky. "Your world leaders will want to hear what we have discovered," he said, "because what we found on Earth may change everything, not just for you, but for all civilizations among the stars." 3 days after the landing, a secure research facility had been set up around the alien craft. World leaders held emergency meetings while scientists from around the globe flew to Wyoming. Dr. Susan Miller arrived on the 4th day, her expertise in quantum physics making her a natural choice to work with the visitors. "The energy signature we detected comes from humans themselves," Zenar explained as he showed Susan and Olivia a three-dimensional display hovering above a small device, specifically from human brainwaves during moments of creative thinking or problem-solving. Susan leaned closer to the display, which showed colorful patterns that pulsed and shifted like a living thing. "You're saying our thoughts produce this energy?" "Not all thoughts," said Vela, the female Vartani. "Only certain types of neural activity. When humans imagine possibilities or solve complex problems, your brains create what we call neural resonance." Daniel Garcia, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up. "Is this unique to humans?" The three Vartani exchanged glances before Zenar answered. "In its natural form, yes. Some species have tried to create it artificially, with limited success. We believed it was merely theoretical until we detected it coming from Earth." The implications of this revelation spread quickly through the scientific community. By the end of the week, President Natalie Powell addressed the nation from the Oval Office. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began, her voice steady. "The visitors from the stars have shared with us a remarkable discovery about humanity itself. It seems we possess a unique ability that allows us to glimpse possibilities beyond our immediate reality." As the president spoke, Susan and her team worked tirelessly with the Vartani. They set up experiments where volunteers performed various mental tasks, while Vartani equipment measured their neural activity. "Look at this," Susan said, pointing to a monitor where a volunteer named Greg Wilson was solving a complex puzzle. "The resonance peaks just before he finds the solution, almost as if he's seeing the answer before he consciously knows it," finished Olivia. Zenar nodded. "That is exactly what happens. Human brains temporarily connect with alternative probability fields. You glimpse potential futures or parallel realities, even if only for milliseconds." The implications were enormous. Human intuition, flashes of insight, even some forms of creativity might be explained by this ability to unconsciously peek across the boundaries of reality itself. Word of the discovery leaked beyond the scientific community despite security efforts. News outlets around the world ran stories with headlines like, "Humans have psychic powers, aliens confirm," and "Earth's secret superpower discovered by aliens." On the 10th day after first contact, a message arrived from space. Zenar received it through the ship's communication system. "The Galactic Assembly has been informed of our findings," he told Commander Mason and Dr. Miller. "They are concerned." "Concerned about what?" Jack asked. "About the implications. No species should naturally have this ability. It defies our understanding of consciousness. Some believe it could make humans unpredictable." Susan frowned. "Is that dangerous in some way?" "Knowledge is always seen as dangerous by those who don't possess it," said Turan, speaking up for the first time in days. "There are those who will fear what humans might become if you learn to control this ability." That evening, as Susan stared at brain scans in her temporary lab, she noticed something odd in the latest readings. The resonance patterns were growing stronger in volunteers who had spent the most time near the Vartani. "Proximity to the aliens is enhancing our natural abilities," she whispered to herself, realizing the discovery went even deeper than they thought. Outside, in the night sky, a new light appeared, larger and brighter than any star. The Vartani ship's sensors pinged an alert. More visitors were coming, and not all with peaceful intentions. The new ship that appeared in Earth's orbit was 5 times larger than the Vartani scout vessel. Its arrival triggered military alerts worldwide. Fighter jets scrambled, missile systems activated, and submarines moved into strategic positions. But the massive ship made no aggressive moves. "It's the Galactic Assembly diplomatic vessel," Zenar explained to Commander Mason and President Powell during an emergency video call. "They've sent Representative Kale to address your world leaders." 2 days later, the United Nations General Assembly convened an extraordinary session. Security was tight as Representative Kale was escorted into the building. He was taller than the other Vartani, with silver markings on his blue-gray skin that seemed to indicate higher rank. "People of Earth," Kale began, his translator device projecting his voice throughout the chamber. News of your unique abilities has spread quickly through our galaxy. I must inform you that this has created a complex situation. The room fell silent as Kale explained the reaction of three major galactic powers. The hegemony, a militaristic alliance of 12 species, wanted Earth quarantined immediately. They viewed humans as potentially dangerous and unpredictable. The collective, a group dedicated to scientific advancement, wished to study humans extensively, treating them essentially as research subjects. Only the coalition, of which the Vartini were members, proposed offering humans protected status and eventual membership in the Galactic Assembly. You now find yourselves involved in politics you barely understand, Kale said. But decisions will be made with or without your input. Secretary General Maria Lopes stood up. She was a small woman with a powerful presence. With all due respect, Representative Kale, Earth will decide its own fate. We request time to form a unified response. Kale nodded. Time is something I cannot guarantee. Some factions do not believe in waiting for diplomatic solutions. After the session, Maria formed a global committee with representatives from every nation. Susan Miller was appointed as scientific advisor, while Commander Mason headed security. We need to understand what we're dealing with, Maria said during their first meeting. Dr. Miller, please explain in simple terms what these aliens find so important about us. Susan stood. The neural resonance they discovered allows humans to unconsciously tap into what they call probability fields. In practical terms, it gives us flashes of insight, intuition, and creative leaps that other species don't have naturally. And why is this threatening to them? Asked the representative from Kenya. Because it makes us unpredictable, Jack Mason replied. Military strategy depends on predicting your enemy's actions. If we can glimpse multiple possible futures, even unconsciously, it gives us an advantage they can't counter. The committee worked around the clock, preparing Earth's official response. Meanwhile, Kale met privately with Susan and Jack. There is another matter I haven't shared publicly, Kale said, his voice low. Our scientists believe human neural resonance is not static. It's evolving, becoming stronger. If humans learn to control it consciously, we could see actual futures, alternative realities. Susan asked. Potentially. And that possibility terrifies the hegemony. That night, observatory stations around the world detected multiple new objects entering the solar system. Jack received the alert while meeting with military leaders from several nations. Are they assembly ships? Asked General Laura Rodriguez. Jack checked the data from the Vartani. No. According to Zinar, they're Exarethi vessels. Who are the Exarethi? A species not aligned with any faction. They're known for harvesting unique biological traits from other species. As dawn broke over New York, Representative Kale requested another emergency session. I must warn you, he told the assembled leaders, that Exarathi are not here for diplomacy. They're here to take what makes humans special, by any means necessary. Around the world, people looked up at the sky with fear and wonder. Earth's place in the universe had changed forever, and now its very survival hung in the balance. Captain Ben Howard stared at the radar screen in the newly established Space Defense Command Center. 5 Exarathi ships had entered the solar system and were moving toward Earth. 3 smaller craft had broken off from the main group and were approaching faster than the others. They'll reach orbit in 6 hours, Ben told Commander Mason over the secure line. What are our orders? Maintain defensive positions, but do not engage unless they make aggressive moves, Jack replied. The president is still in emergency talks with other world leaders. The Vartini had shared information about Exarathi technology. Earth's best weapons would barely scratch their ships. This fact had been kept from the public to prevent panic, but military leaders knew the truth. If the Exarathi attacked, Earth could not win through conventional warfare. Dr. Susan Miller worked frantically in her lab with a group of volunteers. For days, she had been testing a theory about human neural resonance. I think we can amplify the effect when multiple people work together, she explained to her team. Like a choir singing creates a more powerful sound than one person alone. Among her volunteers were Eric Johnson, a computer programmer from Seattle, and Kelly Peterson, an artist from New Orleans. They had shown particularly strong resonance patterns in earlier tests. Susan connected them to monitoring equipment and asked them to solve problems together. As they worked, the energy readings on the Vartani devices spiked higher than ever before. "Something's happening," Kelly said suddenly, her eyes wide. "I can see ships moving toward specific points around Earth." Eric nodded, his face pale. "They're targeting our major power stations first. They want to disable global communications." Susan called Commander Mason immediately. "Jack, we have something. The resonance network is allowing our volunteers to predict Serethi movements." Within an hour, Susan and her team were relocated to a secure bunker. Representative Kale joined them, bringing additional Vartani equipment. "We can offer some defensive technology," Kale said, "but not our most advanced systems." "Why not?" Jack demanded. "You know what will happen if the Exorethi succeed." Kale's expression was solemn. "Too much advanced technology could actually disrupt human neural patterns. The very thing that makes you special might be damaged by rapid technological advancement. So we have to rely on our own abilities," Susan said thoughtfully. "Maybe that's not a disadvantage." She explained her plan to President Powell and the Secretary General. Instead of trying to match Exorethi firepower, they would use the human ability to glimpse probability fields to anticipate and counter Exorethi tactics. "We need more volunteers," Susan said. "People with strong creative abilities or problem-solving skills. Artists, scientists, chess players, even children. They often have stronger resonance patterns than adults." Teams were quickly assembled in secure locations around the world. Each included at least one person with exceptionally strong resonance abilities, identified through hasty global testing. The Vartani provided shielding technology to protect these locations from Exorethi scans. As the first Exorethi scout ships entered Earth orbit, Kelly Peterson closed her eyes in concentration. Around her, 5 other team members held hands, forming a circle. "They're scanning for energy signatures," she said quietly, "looking for concentrations of neural resonance." In space, the Exorethi commander Frax studied the readings from Earth with growing frustration. His orders were clear: locate and capture humans with the strongest neural abilities. But the planet's energy patterns were chaotic and difficult to interpret. "Deploy the ground teams," Vrax ordered. "Begin with their largest population centers." On Earth, Susan watched as Kelly opened her eyes. "They're coming down," Kelly whispered, "but they don't know what they're really dealing with yet." The first battle for humanity's unique gift was about to begin. The Exorethi landing craft descended on major cities around the world. In New York, Paris, Beijing, and 20 other locations, the alien ships hovered above skyscrapers before deploying ground forces. The Exorethi soldiers were tall and muscular with gray skin and 4 arms. Each carried devices that emitted a low humming sound. "Neural dampening fields," Zenar explained to Susan and Jack as they watched footage from London. "They weaken your natural resonance abilities. This is standard Exorethi harvesting technique." People near the Exorethi ships reported feeling confused and slow thinking. Military forces that engaged them found themselves making poor decisions, as if their instincts and tactical thinking were impaired. In Chicago, a Exorethi team approached the Art Institute where a resonance team had been established. The team leader, Frank Cooper, was an engineer who had worked with Susan to develop shielding against the dampening effect. His small group included a chess champion, a jazz musician, and 2 high school students who had shown exceptionally strong resonance patterns. "They're coming from the east entrance," said Lily, one of the students, her eyes closed in concentration. "But there's a second team approaching from underground. They're using the subway tunnels." Frank relayed this information to the military units protecting the building. Thanks to the warning, they were able to intercept the Exorethi approaching through the tunnels. Similar scenes played out across the globe. The resonance teams couldn't always see specific details, but they provided enough insights to keep the Exarathi off balance. Humanity was fighting back not with superior firepower, but with its unique ability to glimpse probable futures. In New Orleans, Kelly Peterson made another discovery. During the Exarathi approach, she had been sketching rapidly on a large pad. As she drew, her resonance readings spiked higher than ever before. "It's art," she told Susan over the secure line. Creating art amplifies the resonance effect. Music, drawing, even dance, it all makes the signal stronger. Susan shared this finding with other resonance teams. Soon, resistance cells incorporated artistic expression into their strategies. Musicians played while others monitored Exarathi movements. Painters created while strategists used their enhanced insights to direct defense forces. The Exarathi were confused by humans' unpredictable tactics. Their commanders had expected an easy harvest operation. Instead, they found themselves countered at every turn, facing an enemy that seemed to anticipate their moves before they made them. Commander Vrax of the Exarathi grew frustrated. How are they doing this? Our dampening fields should be working. When his forces finally captured a resonance team in Detroit, Vrax ordered immediate analysis of the humans. The Exarathi scientists made a disturbing discovery. The neural resonance only worked when humans acted of their own free will. Attempts to force the ability through threat or coercion resulted in no useful resonance patterns. Vrax changed tactics. Rather than trying to capture humans with strong resonance, he ordered his forces to target the shielded locations where resonance teams operated. Without these early warning systems, Earth's military would be fighting blind. "They're adapting," Jack told the Emergency Council. "We need to change our approach too." Susan nodded. "The resonance teams can't stay in fixed locations anymore. We need them mobile, constantly changing position." As the battles continued, casualty reports grew. The Exarathi weapons were designed to incapacitate rather than kill. They wanted human subjects alive. But Earth's conventional weapons had limited effect on the alien invaders. In orbit, more Exarathi ships arrived. Earth's governments, once divided by old rivalries, found themselves united against a common threat. But despite humanity's unique advantages, the Exarathi had resources and technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. Hope began to fade as Exarathi forces established footholds in several major cities. Humanity needed help, but the Galactic Assembly remained divided on whether to intervene in what they considered an internal matter between Earth and the Exarathi. The Galactic Assembly gathered in their massive space station near the star humans called Alpha Centauri. Representatives from over 200 species debated the situation on Earth. The chamber was divided between those who feared human potential and those who respected the right of all species to determine their own path. Earth's ambassador, Lisa Chen, stood before the assembly. She had been a diplomat before first contact, quickly appointed to represent humanity in this critical moment. "The people of Earth did not ask for these abilities," Lisa said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "We did not ask to be invaded. We simply wish to exist and develop in our own way, as all your species have done." Many representatives nodded in agreement, but others made sounds of disagreement in their various languages. "The Exarathi claim humans requested their protection," said the hegemony representative, a reptilian being with golden scales. "They have provided communications proving this." Lisa stood taller. "Those communications are false. The Exarathi came to harvest our abilities, not to protect us." The assembly chamber erupted in argument. Without proof, they could not act against the Exarathi, who technically had rights to conduct invited operations on developing worlds. Meanwhile on Earth, Captain Ben Howard led a desperate mission. With a team of 20 soldiers and 2 resonance sensitives, he attempted to infiltrate the Exarathi command ship that had landed outside Washington, D.C. "Remember the plan," Ben told his team as they moved through the sewers beneath the city. "We need their communication array intact. No explosives unless absolutely necessary." Above them, HFY patrols searched the abandoned streets. The Resonance team members, twins Aaron and Adam Clark, held hands as they guided the soldiers through paths that avoided detection. "Left here," Aaron whispered. "Patrol coming from the right in 30 seconds." Their enhanced perception wasn't perfect, but it gave them enough advantage to reach the massive HFY ship undetected. Using technology provided by the Vartani, they bypassed the outer security systems and entered through a maintenance hatch. "We're looking for their communication center," Ben reminded them. "Stay together." The inside of the ship was hot and humid, filled with strange smells. The team moved carefully, guided by the twins' resonance insights. Twice they narrowly avoided HFY guards. "It's through that door," Adam said, pointing to a sealed entrance. "But there are 4 HFY inside." Ben nodded to his soldiers, who prepared stun weapons. "On my mark." The fight was brief but intense. 2 human soldiers were injured, but all 4 HFY were incapacitated. Ben hurried to the communication array. "Get the Vartani device ready," he ordered. A technician attached a small Vartani computer to the HFY system. It immediately began downloading data. "Got it," the technician said after several tense minutes. "All their communication logs for the past month." Back at the Human Command Center, Dr. Susan Miller reviewed the captured data with Representative Kell. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a series of messages. The HFY created fake communications, supposedly from Earth governments inviting their intervention. "They've been sending these to the Galactic Assembly." Cale's expression darkened. "This is a serious violation of Assembly law. With this evidence, we can demand intervention." He immediately transmitted the evidence to the Assembly, where Lisa Chen was still arguing humanity's case. When the proof of HFY deception appeared on the Assembly's viewing screens, the mood in the chamber shifted dramatically. "The HFY have violated multiple Assembly laws," announced the Council Elder, an ancient being from one of the oldest species. "A vote will be held immediately on intervention." The vote was close, with many species still fearful of human potential. But in the end, the Assembly narrowly approved sending peacekeeping forces to Earth. As the Assembly ships prepared to depart, Lisa received a private message from the Elder. Intervention was approved, but understand this: many still fear what humans may become. This is not the end of your challenges, but merely the beginning. The Assembly peacekeeping ships arrived in Earth orbit 7 days after the vote. They were massive vessels with gleaming hulls that reflected the sunlight. But their orders were clear: contain the conflict, not directly help humans. They would prevent more HFY ships from reaching Earth, but would not engage those already on the planet. "We have to handle the ground war ourselves," Jack told the Emergency Council. The Assembly fears direct intervention might accelerate human development too quickly. Dr. Susan Miller had barely slept in days. She and her international team worked around the clock, studying the neural resonance phenomenon. Their lab, now hidden in an underground facility in Switzerland, housed volunteers from around the world with the strongest resonance abilities. "I think I found something important," Susan said, calling Jack and Representative Kell to her lab. She pointed to brain scans of several Vartani who had worked closely with humans for weeks. "Look at these patterns. They're beginning to show traces of resonance themselves." Kell studied the scans with wide eyes. "This is unexpected. You're saying neural resonance can be taught to other species?" "Not exactly taught," Susan explained, "but it seems to develop through prolonged close contact with humans, almost like it's contagious, but in a positive way." This discovery changed everything. If neural resonance could spread to other species, it wasn't just a human trait, it was something humans could share with the galaxy. The news reached the HFY through their spies. Commander Vrax called an emergency meeting with his officers. "We must accelerate our timeline," he ordered. "Target all research facilities. Find where they're studying this phenomenon and destroy them." HFY attacks intensified across the globe. They focused on places where they detected high concentrations of neural activity, destroying labs and attempting to capture scientists. But the human resistance had become more organized, with resonance teams providing advance warning of most attacks. In Australia, the largest coordinated operation yet was underway. Resonance teams from 5 continents had gathered at a hidden base in the outback. Susan's theory was that a massive neural network might amplify the resonance effect beyond anything they had achieved so far. 100 people with strong resonance abilities sat in concentric circles in a large underground chamber. They included scientists, artists, children, and even some Vartani who had begun developing the ability. In the center sat Kelly Peterson, who had shown the strongest natural resonance of any human tested. "Remember," Susan told them, "don't force it. Let your minds connect naturally." As they began, monitors showed their brain waves slowly synchronizing. The Vartani equipment recorded energy readings that exceeded all previous measurements. Kelly gasped. "I can see them, all their ships, their movements, their plans." But something else was happening too. Engineers monitoring nearby equipment noticed their computers beginning to process data faster than should have been possible. People reported sudden insights into technologies they had been struggling to understand. "The resonance is enhancing our technological understanding," Susan realized. "It's like we're tapping into knowledge from possible futures where we've already solved these problems." Working with this temporarily enhanced understanding, human engineers quickly modified Vartani defensive systems beyond their original capabilities. When the Exarathi launched their attack on the Australian base, they found themselves facing defenses far more advanced than they expected. The battle was fierce, but short. For the first time, human forces decisively defeated a major Exarathi assault. Similar victories followed around the world as the enhanced technology spread. 3 days later, the remaining Exarathi ships lifted off from Earth. Before leaving the solar system, Commander Vrax sent one final message. "This is not over. We will return with a larger force. What you possess is too valuable to be left uncontrolled." As the Exarathi retreated, assembly representatives arrived on Earth's surface for the first time. They had witnessed humans sharing their abilities rather than using them for dominance. It made many reconsider humanity's place in galactic society. 6 months after the Exarathi retreat, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined before first contact. The Galactic Assembly had officially recognized Earth as a protected developing world. This status prevented any species from interfering with human development or attempting to harvest human abilities without consent. Representative Kale remained on Earth as the Assembly's official ambassador. He worked closely with Secretary General Maria Lopes to establish protocols for cultural and scientific exchange with other worlds. "We must be careful about which technologies we share," Kale explained during a meeting with Earth's new Interspecies Council. "Too much too quickly could disrupt the natural development of your neural resonance." Dr. Susan Miller nodded in agreement. She now led the newly established Resonance Academy, a global institution dedicated to understanding and ethically developing humanity's unique abilities. The Academy welcomed students from around the world who showed strong resonance potential. "We've learned that resonance grows stronger when shared," Susan told a group of new students on their first day. "But with greater ability comes greater responsibility." The Academy campus in Geneva included a special wing for non-human visitors. Several dozen Vartani now lived there permanently, studying alongside humans and developing their own emerging resonance abilities. A few representatives from other species had also requested permission to join the program. In orbit above Earth, construction had begun on the first human-designed interstellar vessel. It incorporated both Earth ingenuity and carefully selected alien technology. Engineers who had experienced the enhanced insights during the battle in Australia led the design team, working from memories of those temporary glimpses of advanced technologies. Captain Ben Howard stood in the observation deck of the space station, watching as the ship took shape. After leading the mission that helped expose Exarathi deception, he had been selected to command this historic vessel. "She's beautiful," said a voice beside him. Jack Mason had arrived to inspect the progress. "That she is," Ben agreed. Have they decided on a name yet? Horizon, Jack replied. Seems fitting for our first step into the wider galaxy. The crew selection had been finalized the previous week. It would include 15 humans from various nations and 5 Artani. The mission: a diplomatic and scientific journey to 3 nearby star systems, strengthening Earth's new alliances. On the day of launch, people around the world watched their screens as the Horizon prepared to depart. President Powell gave a short speech from the White House Rose Garden. Today marks not an ending but a beginning, she said. What the aliens discovered on Earth has indeed changed everything, not just for us, but for all intelligent life. Our unique gift is not meant to be hoarded but shared, not used for dominance but for understanding. As the Horizon moved away from the space station, surprising reports began coming in from various worlds. Species that had been in contact with humans through diplomatic or scientific exchanges were showing early signs of developing resonance abilities themselves. The effect seemed to spread naturally through meaningful interaction. The Galactic Assembly held an emergency session to discuss these developments. After much debate, they created a new classification for Earth, not just a protected world, but a catalyst species, one that could fundamentally change others through peaceful interaction. Some assembly members still feared what this might mean for the future of galactic civilization, but others saw it as the dawn of a new era of connection and understanding between diverse forms of life. As the Horizon activated its engines for the jump to interstellar space, Ben Howard looked at his mixed human and Vartani crew. Whatever happens next, he said, we face it together. The ship disappeared in a flash of light, carrying humanity's unique gift to the stars. Back on Earth, children born after first contact showed resonance abilities far stronger than previous generations. The journey humanity had begun would continue for generations to come, reshaping not just their own destiny, but that of all intelligent life in the galaxy.